Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrea and in this channel we talk all about online teaching, business, mindset and social media. So if any of those topics interest you, then please consider subscribing. In today's video we are going to dive into one of the most frequently asked questions I get on my Instagram, which by the way, if you don't already follow me, then consider following me. So this question is basically, once I started my business, once I start getting private students, is it okay for me to quit like a stable job? Is it okay for me to just walk away and simply like start with my teaching private students full time? And my question is yes and no. And today I'm going to explain when I believe you should start thinking about quitting and when you shouldn't think about quitting your job. Now, before we start, I just want to say this is just my opinion and this basically comes from experience. And you are the one who gets to decide, of course, what will work best for you in your situation. This is just what I think, what I've been through, and some of the things that I believe you should take into account if you are thinking about quitting a stable job to pursue your business as a language teacher. So, without further ado, let's get started. So now, why do I say that it's okay for you to quit a stable job if you want to become a teacherpreneur full-time? So by this, I mean, if you like or if you are okay with not having not having an income, having a stable income every month that you can rely on to pay the bills and to do whatever you like, then it's okay. Like if you don't have a family to feed or if you don't have any sort of responsibilities in terms of like people depending on you, then I would say that it's okay if and only if you already know that you will be getting a certain amount of money per month minimum. So let's say that you are working with your private students and let's forget that you're working for like a company or an institution. If you know that you need, let's say $400, $500 to live, and overall, like on average, that's how much money you make per month. Sometimes it can be more, sometimes it can be less, but the average is $500, then I would consider it. Also, because if you quit, it means that you will be able to get more hours. But again, this really depends because sometimes teachers tend to work for institutions like on or for schools like in the mornings and in the afternoons because they work for schools and they're the classroom teacher, they're the English teacher. So in that case, it's very difficult for us to get private students unless we are working with people who are in a different country and who live in a different time zone. So that's something to bear in mind. So if you need $300 to live, $400, $500, and you know that on average you make that amount of money, and that you know that you already have students who want to work with you, but you cannot like place them and you don't have space for them, then you may think about that. Because the reality is that when you start working with private students, you can sometimes make double as much as you may make working for a language institution. And that means that you will be able to like compensate for that stable job by just taking on 2 or 3 students. Now, these students that you take on should be regular students. What I mean by this is that it's not, that you have these students that only show up when they have a test or when they have an exam. And I'm not saying like test prep, which usually takes about around like 2 or 3 months. I'm talking about students that come like a week before they have a test and they need to prep everything. So that's not a regular student. That's not like a stable student or someone that you can rely on. So I usually don't take on those students because it's not good for me. Just I am first of all, I don't like it and it's not good for my business, so I don't usually take on those types of students. And so once you have these regular students that you know that will work with you at least for around 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, or even more, then of course you can definitely think about quitting. Because if you just think about how much money you are making at a school or whatever you work. Okay, just think about how many students will you have to get in order to compensate for that lost income should you quit. So is it like 4 students, 5 students? Is it 3 students? And even if you all come from, let's say, a Latin American country, sometimes certain African countries or Southeast Asian countries, and you get students from, let's say, from Europe, from North America, or from like Western countries, then you most definitely will make more money than if you work at a language institution from your home country. That's a reality. It may sound harsh, but that's of course a reality. So sometimes you may think about, oh no, I need 10 students in order to compensate for my job. But what if you can find 2 or 3 students from developing countries, or from countries that like pay teachers well, such as Japan, South Korea, Russia, the US, then you don't need like 10 students, you just need like 2 or 3 in order to compensate for that lost income. So in that way, I would really think about quitting, but again, this just depends if you have a plan B and if you are already making enough income to live with your teaching business. And then there are people that still like the stable part of a job, because you have like health insurance, because you know how much money you're making every month, and you don't have to worry about paying the bills and everything. So that's like, I mean, if you say, we're not judging here, if you want to do that, then of course you can do that. And the reality is that just really think about why you're staying and if it's worth it in the long run, or if it's just something that's gonna get you somewhere else. Because let's say that you work for a language academy, but in this language academy they pay for international exams. So if you are an English teacher and you want to take C1 advanced, then you may be able to do so. You may be able to get exam preparation for free. You may even have your exam paid for you. So in those scenarios, you just really think about the benefits that you'll be getting if you continue working for that place. And once you outline like the benefits and the advantages and the disadvantages of working for a certain place, and once you know that you are already making enough income as a language teacher, like as a side hustle or as a second business, then you can really think about quitting and then using that like extra time that you will have to either get more students, okay, basically to either get more students or to really improve your quality of life. Like sometimes you don't even have to just compensate those hours that you will not be working with more work. Like if you want time to go to the gym, then just go to the gym. If you would like to, I don't know, start painting, then you can absolutely do that. Now, that's when I would say that it's like okay to quit your job. Now, when I would say that it's not okay or that you shouldn't quit your job. First of all, when you don't have a plan B. Every time that I have had to quit a job, I had always had like a plan B going on. So I knew that even though I was gonna quit, I was not gonna like starve, basically. This may be because I already had another job in line, or because I was already making enough money to survive, at least with my own private students. Now, with plan B, it means basically you already have like private students, or you already have another job like waiting for you. You have already applied, you have already gone through the whole process, and you know that they're gonna hire you because they have already told you so, and you are like in the middle of getting all the documents and the papers done. So in that case, then of course, like you can quit. But if you don't have that, if you don't have another job lined up, if you're looking for one, and if you don't have another job lined up, and if you're not making enough money as a private teacher, I don't recommend quitting. So why? Because it's not, for some teachers, yes, they do find like private students quite fast, and it's basically it can be about, for social media, if they are working on social media, that can be one of the reasons. They may be running ads in order to get private students, or simply networking, like a parent may recommend you, or someone, like if you're teaching adult students, may recommend you to their friends or to their family, and you may start working that way. But what I'm saying is that it's not a matter of like a week or two. It can take time. So if you're really thinking about quitting your job, you really have to start focusing on what you're going to do to survive. And if that means taking on more hours, taking on more students, while you're working part-time, so that you can make, so that you know that you are already making enough income to live out of your like side hustle or your part-time job as a private teacher, then you can quit your job, because you know that you have something here that's gonna make you, that's gonna help you pay the bills and basically live. Now, if you don't have these things, if you don't have a plan B, if you don't even have enough savings, that's another thing. Like, people quit and they say like, okay, I'm gonna get students and I'm just gonna live off my savings for quite a while, for like a month and two, until I get students, and then they realize that it's not, for some teachers it's easy, but for some it's not. And you may find yourself in a situation where you will have to find another job that you may not even like in order to survive again, and you will be constantly doing this. Like, you don't like this job, so you quit, and you cannot make your business work, so you end up working again at another job that you don't like, and then you end up quitting, and then you try to do this, and then you do that, and then basically it's like a cycle that you're in this loop of quitting, trying to start a business, failing, taking another job, quitting, and then you continue in this loop indefinitely, most indefinitely, because you have not mastered the skill of having a plan B. So even if you have a job, even if you have a job, the thing is that you really got to think about what happens if you don't have it. So what happens if, like, tomorrow your boss wakes up and says like, you're fired? So that's why I always say that it's okay to have a job. Like, if you want to have a job, you can most definitely have a job. But what I'm saying is that you should always focus on what you can do privately, how you can help, how you can work with students privately, so that you can have like an extra income coming in every month. Either, if you want to spend it, you can spend it. You can also invest it. You can also use it like as a savings. You can also put it in like a savings account. But really think about that. And if you don't have that, you cannot live off of your savings for like 2 or 3 months until you have students. So what I usually recommend is basically starting now, like 2 or 3 hours per week, start getting students, start working on probably like social media or networking, asking parents to recommend you, or telling people that you are accepting new students and that you are gonna be like working part-time as a private teacher, so that they can recommend you. If if somebody asks, then they know that you are working part-time as a private language teacher. So that's also something that you can consider if you are already working. But again, I don't recommend quitting if you don't have a plan B, and if you're not making enough income to survive as a private teacher, or like as probably you're not working as a private teacher, probably you just sell resources for language teachers. But if you're not making enough income to at least to survive the first couple of months, then I recommend waiting until it feels good to you, and I recommend just don't rush things, basically. And yeah, so that was basically what I wanted to share. I have been asked this question a couple of times, and I believe that it's very important to be straightforward, because even though I say that you should have your teaching business, that does not mean that it has to it's the only thing that has to exist within your life. You can also have like you can also work as a full-time teacher or a part-time teacher for a school or an institution or an academy, whatever, and then in your free time you can work as a private teacher. But if you're really looking into quitting those jobs and just focusing on your income as a private teacher, then these are the things that I would most definitely consider. Having a plan B, knowing how much money you need to survive, knowing that you will be able to make that much money, and focusing on expanding your clientele. And of course, if these things, if any of these things interest you, then you're more than welcome to click the subscribe button. And yes, that was all for today's video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've ever been in this situation where you have had to decide whether or not to quit or to take on a different job. I would love to know more about that. So yes, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.